How did a continent once fractured by colonial lines become the most powerful, unified nation on Earth? The story of the United States of Africa isn't one of conquest, but of convergence, 40-year journey that rewired the world. It all began not with armies, but with an app. The first phase, the economic dissolution of borders, kicked off around 2025. It started with the African Continental Free Trade Area, which evolved from a simple trade agreement into a digital revolution. By 2028, the Pan-African payment and settlement system was in full swing, allowing businesses to trade across the continent without ever touching a dollar or a euro. But the real game changer was the replacement of old border posts. Instead of guards and paperwork, we saw the rise of AI-driven smart corridors. Trucks, trains, and cargo moved seamlessly from Kinshasa to Nairobi, their passage verified by blockchain IDs without a single stop. The lines drawn at the Berlin Conference were becoming invisible to the economy. Then came the economic nuclear option. The Afro, launched in 2035, this new digital currency wasn't backed by government promises, but by tangible assets, the continent's vast reserves of lithium, cobalt, and the raw power generated by the Sahara's solar arrays. The African Central Bank in Accra gave every citizen a direct digital account, bypassing traditional banks and sparking an unprecedented entrepreneurial boom. Suddenly, the Afro was more stable than any other currency, forcing global markets to look to Africa. While the economy was merging, the continent was physically stitching itself back together. The integrated high-speed train network became the new circulatory system. The Trans-Sahelian Express connected Dakar to Djibouti in just 12 hours, turning landlocked nations into land-linked logistic powerhouses. The Cape to Cairo backbone moved millions of tons of goods and people daily. When a student in Gaborone could take a 90-minute train to a lecture in Lusaka and be home for dinner, the very idea of separate countries began to feel like ancient history. National airlines merged into a single entity, Air Africa, dominating the southern skies. Doctors and engineers were granted continental licenses, allowing them to work anywhere. By 2045, the map of Africa looked the same, but in reality, it was one humming, integrated machine. The second phase, the era of the Great Pulse, was powered by a single, monumental achievement: the completion of the Grand Inga Dam on the Congo River. This wasn't just a dam. It was the continent's new heart, pumping out over 42,000 megawatts of clean, cheap energy. This incredible project became the ultimate tool for unification. The Pan-African Grid was born, a massive network managed by an AI in Brazzaville. The rule was simple: if your region wanted to connect to this affordable energy, you had to adopt the standardized African legal code. Conflicting business laws, property rights, and environmental regulations dissolved overnight. The grid ensured that a remote village in the Sahel had the same industrial potential as a coastal megacity, ending the urban brain drain and spreading wealth evenly. With energy sovereignty came resource sovereignty. The era of foreign corporations playing African nations against each other for cheap minerals was over. The Continental Resource Guild was formed in Kinshasa. It took monopolistic control of all critical minerals, the lithium, cobalt, and rare earths the world desperately needed for its green transition. A new law was passed. No raw materials could be exported. All processing and manufacturing had to happen within Africa. The resource curse that had plagued the continent for centuries was transformed into a manufacturing miracle. The immense profits from energy exports and mineral sales flowed into the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Africa. This fund built the pillars of the new state: a universal, free education system, the knowledge shield, and a continental healthcare system called the Wellness Mandate, which used advanced AI diagnostics and locally produced medicine. By 2060, the world wasn't dealing with 54 separate nations anymore. They were facing a unified giant that controlled the global energy transition. The final step was a formality, but a powerful one. On May 25, 2063, exactly 100 years after the founding of the Organization of African Unity, leaders gathered to sign the Addis Ababa Accord. This document officially dissolved individual national sovereignties and created the Federal United States of Africa. A new government structure was born. The High Council in Addis Ababa would handle foreign policy. The Pan-African Parliament in Midrand would legislate trade and environmental law. And the Court of Ubuntu in Arusha would handle human rights. But why did it succeed where so many other attempts at unity had failed? The answer was demographic. By 2050, Africa had the world's largest and youngest workforce. This generation, connected by the free, satellite-based UbuntuNet, saw themselves as African first. They grew up in a world of high-speed trains and a single currency. They demanded a government that reflected their borderless reality. The unification wasn't imposed from the top down. It was built from the ground up by the unstoppable momentum of technology, economics, and a shared vision for the future. The cradle of humanity had finally, truly, become its crown.